Hey everyone, it's Ben Hardy here, and in today's video we're going to be going over which car brands have the highest markups in today's market, and then which ones have the lowest markup as well. And so with that being said, let's get right into the video. Now before we get into the list of vehicles that are being marked up crazy amounts, I guess I should mention, if you don't want to have to pay these crazy markups, link in the description down below to my car buying course, which teaches you how to get a good deal on a car so you don't have to pay, again, these crazy markups. And then I do also need to mention that this list was compiled by Motor Trend. I'll include a link to the original article in the description down below so you can go read it for yourself. Shout out to them. Obviously got to give credit where credit's due, and let's get into the list. So the number one automaker with the largest markup right now, Cadillac. And again, this isn't the manufacturer itself. This is dealerships that are franchised with this manufacturer. And yeah, they are marking up cars more than anyone else. The average markup for a new Cadillac across the country, $4,048. Now, this isn't just going to be a video of me reading off this list. I want to also kind of tell you guys kind of what I've seen out there. Now, in terms of Cadillac having crazy high markups, it completely makes sense because the local Cadillac dealership here, which is the only Cadillac dealership in Utah, has like no inventory ever. Escalades, they never have them in. And then, you know, stuff like the XT6, for example, or any of the cars, they might be in the lot for like a day or something, and then they're gone. So this makes sense to me, seeing this level of markup on the Cadillacs, especially the new Escalade. The new Escalade's been super popular, and I've seen some pretty crazy markups on the Escalade. Like, you know, as much as like $10,000, $15,000 on certain packages. So yeah, completely makes sense. Now the next one is Land Rover. Their average markup $2,565, and this is one that again makes sense. There's really nothing on the ground for Land Rover or Jaguar for that matter, but Jaguar doesn't have as much markup because Jaguar doesn't have the same brand name that Land Rover has. Land Rover has a much stronger brand name right now. And what I've seen with the full size is that a dealership's basically gotten a bunch of them with the old body style. So they're 2022 model year vehicles, but they're not the new body style. And people are now waiting for the new body style, and so they're not really picking up the old body style like they were before. Even though it's the last time you can get, you know, the supercharged V8, people just don't seem to care at this point. If they wanted that, it seems like they've already bought. So that is a Land Rover you could probably get a deal on, but the rest of the lineup, there's like everything as soon as it hits the ground sells instantly. The one that actually surprises me next is Porsche, 1721, an average markup. I thought it would be higher, and that's because anything with Porsche, Volkswagen, or Audi has had massive, issues with the supply chain stuff. And there was recently that like ship that had a bunch of Volkswagens and Porsches on it that caught fire, which makes things even worse. But yeah, I thought their markup would be, their average markup would be higher than that. Just because like you literally can't get anything. Like they're complete. That's a dealership that's completely empty. One that I skipped by accident is Kia. This one's kind of funny. So $2,289. The reason this is funny is, I mean, 10 years ago, Kia was not a brand that was considered this like, you know, super desirable brand. Whereas now in the current market, everyone wants Kias, and people are paying massive amounts over sticker. I mean, we've seen Tellurides going for $15,000, $20,000 over sticker and $25,000 over sticker in certain places, which is crazy. But that's just what's happening. And yeah, Kia is one of the automakers that has the highest amount of markup. Like, it's a crazy world we live in where Kia is marked up way over MSRP. And then, you know, the other brands with Kia, Genesis, and Hyundai, they are marked up a pretty large amount too, just not as much. It seems like they aren't as desirable as Kia. It seems like everyone wants Kia, but even though like all the cars across those lineups are pretty much the same, people seem to like the Kia brand the most, which is kind of interesting. It's probably because of the styling, right? They like the styling. The next two on this list that are pretty much put together is Acura and Honda. Obviously, Acura is like the luxury performance version, and then Honda is like the regular person version. And if you guys are wondering, Honda 1508 and then Acura 1701. Sounds about right in terms of the markup I've been seeing. You know, certain cars like the new Civic Si, those are having a little bit more markup on them. But just across the lineup in general, that sounds about right for what I've seen on those. Don't want to focus on that too much. The next one that I want to talk about a little bit is Toyota. So Toyota's average markup is 1,015. And Toyota's one of the manufacturers that there is a huge swing in terms of the amount of markup you're going to see on a car. If it's a Corolla, probably not a lot. And you might even be able to get a little bit of a deal on that right now, because people aren't really too excited about that car. They're not buying them in droves. But if it's something like the new Tundra or anything that has a Tier D Pro badge on it, then the markup has been crazy. I've seen markup as high as like $50,000 for Tier D Pros, for example. Most dealerships are selling them for like $20,000-$25,000 over sticker, but I've seen some places, like I said, as much as $50,000 over sticker. So that 1,015, I don't know how accurate that is. It just depends on what you're buying in the brand. So Toyota is one of those brands that's been very interesting to see what's been going for way over sticker and what hasn't been going. So if you guys are wondering, if you're looking to buy a Toyota, if it's new at all, good luck. You're going to have to pay a pretty big premium. And if it's any sort of specialty off-road package, again, you're going to have to pay a big premium on it right now. It's just kind of how things are going. The next two that are interesting to me, Nissan and Infiniti, especially Infiniti. So Nissan, average markup 904, Infiniti 820. Some of the cars with Nissan's lineup, I understand why they're having a little bit of markup, like the new Frontier. Again, anything that's new out in the market, it's going to have markup because there's a little bit of hype behind it, and so supply and demand and all that stuff, and so people are willing to pay a little bit more. And you've got the Pathfinder as well, which has been very popular. So that kind of makes sense for the most part from Nissan. And the thing's crazy though is this markup does include some of their smaller cars like the Sentra and the Versa, and it's because people are so desperate to get commuter cars right now because of gas prices. They're paying way over sticker. So it's like, I'm going to go and get this, inexpensive commuter car to save money, but I'm going to spend extra money to get it. It's kind of backwards thinking, but people are doing that. Infiniti, this is the one that kind of shocks me, because Infiniti has been a brand that's been struggling for a long time now. People just haven't been buying them. And this is something that even when I went into the Infiniti dealership, I kind of noticed that first off, they don't have inventory like they used to. Like it used to be cars would sit in their lot forever, whereas now people are buying them left and right. Even stuff that is considered old and outdated, like the QX80, for example. People are like, we need that to be redesigned, right? And people are just buying them left and right. It's pretty crazy. And so, yeah, now, Infiniti has an average markup over MSRP on their cars, which is interesting. I wonder if this is going to be a little bit of a revival for the brand because of all this stuff. Now, a lot of these are pretty small amounts of markup, so there's nothing too exciting. But some other brands I wanted to talk about in today's video. For example, GMC, that's one that I've seen crazy markups. It says their average markup is $677. I can understand not a lot of markup being put on stuff like the Acadia and all that. That's not particularly exciting. But the trucks, I've seen pretty crazy markups. I've seen people paying anywhere from $10,000 to $30,000 over a sticker, depending on what it is. Like if you want to get, for example, a new GMC Sierra AT4 heavy duty, good luck. Finding one, first off, they're none out there. And then if you do get your hands on one, you're going to have to pay a huge premium for them. So that's another one that I've seen some pretty crazy markups on, depending on the vehicle. But apparently the average markup's not very high, which doesn't make too much sense to me. Another one that is interesting is Jeep. That's one that they have average markup's pretty low, $353. But my personal guess as to why this is low is I think vehicles like the Renegade and the Compass and stuff that, again, isn't crazy desirable. It's kind of skewing that a little bit because those vehicles will sit in the lot for a little bit longer. I see Jeep dealerships still have 21 model year Renegades, for example. And so I think that skews the numbers a little bit because stuff like the new Grand Cherokee, not the L, but just the regular Grand Cherokee, and then anything that is a Wrangler or Gladiator, I've seen pretty decent markups across the board on those, especially like the 392 Wrangler. I've seen markups on that as much as $30,000, and used ones are selling for $50 over sticker. So it's been pretty crazy stuff with that. So that's another one that it seems like the brand's getting skewed by cars that people aren't buying. The cars that people are buying have bigger markups on them. Now, another one intrigued me is Mitsubishi. $207 of average markup over MSRP. And this is another brand, just like Infiniti, that I thought was dying here in the U.S. And something that I think is interesting is like the local Mitsubishi dealership that I film at. They've been selling a ton of cars, like a massive amount, way more than they were prior. And so people are actually buying Mitsubishis now, and people are willing to pay a premium just to get one. So that's what's interesting. This one that's very confusing to me is Ford. 163 for the average markup. I think that is way, way low because, I mean, you know, there are some Ford dealerships that'll never sell stuff over MSRP. I've seen that. But, I mean, most Ford stores, I've seen them tack on anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 for everything. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if it's, you know, a Ford Escape or, you know, a new F-150. Everything's had at least that amount. And then if it's something specialty like a Bronco or a Raptor, I've seen as much as, you know, $50,000 over sticker for them. And so that's one that's kind of a little bit deceptive with the markup. Now, I want to get into a couple brands that are negative with the markups because I think this is kind of interesting for us to go over. Mini, negative 151. This completely makes sense. Like the local Mini dealership, they still have cars in inventory, and people still aren't buying Minis. It's not that popular of a brand. Everyone wants trucks and SUVs, and you know, Mini's kind of released some stuff that is in the SUV segment. But yeah, people just, when they think of Mini, they don't think of like practical. They think of like little sporty zippy car. And so yeah, they definitely need to change some stuff with the brand to get around that. BMW, negative 199. This is one that I think is interesting. I talked about this in another video where I heard about a deal where someone bought 2 brand new BMW M8 competitions for significantly under sticker price. And it kind of makes sense. BMW seems to be going down a little bit in terms of people wanting to buy from the brand. I'm not exactly sure why. I'm going to make a standalone video about this. I need to dig into it a little bit more. I have some like personal thoughts on it, but yeah, I mean, they've been on average apparently under MSRP for a lot of the cars, which is interesting. Another one that's minus is Ram, minus 465. Which is, again, very strange to me, but it also kind of makes sense, right? Before the whole pandemic, Ram would always have huge rebates and incentives on their vehicles. And so them discounting their vehicles, it's kind of like it's normal even in this market. It seems like it's kind of normal, so nothing too crazy there. But if you guys are wondering, the brand with the biggest discount, Alfa Romeo, $3,421 on average under sticker. And yeah, pretty interesting stuff. They're basically giving their cars away in today's market, which is crazy. So I guess if you want like a really good deal on a car, Alfa Romeo. But it's something that I didn't expect, to be honest, because like the local Alfa Romeo Maserati dealership that I film at, they aren't struggling to sell cars at all. Like Maseratis, those are selling off the shelf like crazy. And then the Alfa Romeos too, they might sit in the lot for a little bit, but not that long. Not as long as some of these other brands that are selling for over sticker on average. And so that's one that's kind of interesting to me, that the average discount's so big because, I mean, at least here locally, not an issue at all with selling those cars. So that's pretty much going to sum things up for today's video. I want you guys to let me know which one surprised you the most. And if you want to see the entire list, again, I'll include a link to Motor Trend's original article in the description down below. And I guess for me, the one that was the biggest surprise, again, Alfa Romeo for sure, and then Ford. I thought that Alfa Romeo wouldn't have as big of a average transaction price under sticker, and then I didn't think that Ford would be just barely over sticker. I thought that Ford was going to be in the thousands over sticker based on what I've seen here locally with Ford stores and all that. But I'll see you guys in the next video.